I'm gonna burn your face into my memory. I'm going to remember every tattoo you have, every scar you have, because if I survive this, I'm gonna get you.
Standing back up after getting knocked down takes tremendous strength, and that's exactly what these women did as they shared their stories of surviving horrific crimes. Number 3, Holly Dunn. In 1997, Holly Dunn was a junior at the University of Kentucky. She had a new boyfriend and was looking forward to the semester. One night, Holly and her boyfriend Chris were at a party, but sensing that Holly wasn't having a good time, Chris suggested they go for a walk.
The idea to go by the tracks was his idea.
They thought they were alone, but they weren't.
It was very dark and you couldn't see very well, so it was very startling to see someone come out that was crouched behind an electrical box.
Holly and Chris were attacked and left for dead, but Holly came to and ran to get help. Holly miraculously survived, but Chris sadly didn't.
I was doing things during the attack thinking, I'm gonna burn your face into my memory. I'm going to remember every tattoo you have, every scar you have. I'm gonna look on every part of your body and I'm gonna know everything about you. Because if I survive this, I'm gonna get you.
The authorities determined that the MO of the attack on Holly and Chris matched that of the railroad killer. The railroad killer had murdered at least 5 people in Texas and Florida before he landed in Kentucky. His victims usually found on or along train tracks. He was eventually identified as Angel Maturino Resendez. He was caught in 1999 thanks to the descriptions of his tattoos and scars given by Holly. By then, he had allegedly attacked and murdered at least 15 people. Holly is believed to be the sole survivor of the railroad killer. Resendez used an insanity plea, and during his trial, Holly testified. Resendez was sentenced to death. So where's Holly now?
The way that I went on with my life was I had to forgive him and look for the good that could come from this. Being a survivor is one thing, but helping other survivors and knowing how to do that in a professional manner was another thing.
Holly wrote a book about her experience and founded her own advocacy center for victims of violent crimes. Number 2. Marilyn Stanley. In 2015, single mom Marilyn Stanley was living in Burlington, Kentucky when she met Zachary Gross online.
I would talk to him on Facebook sometimes.
As time went on, Marilyn and Zachary started a casual relationship which then turned serious. But soon after, Zachary showed his true colors: possessive, controlling, and abusive. She tried to walk away, but he wouldn't give her a chance.
He'd been telling me for days over text that he wanted to talk to me.
And when Marilyn refused, Zachary began stalking her. In a desperate attempt to calm him down, Marilyn agreed to go back to his home, and there, he attacked her.
I asked him what that was for, and he brought up pictures of me and my son taken at a park.
And what did that matter?
It was because another guy had taken the picture and posted it and tagged me on Facebook, and I remember.
So he was mad or he was jealous, or what was he?
Both.
But Zachary didn't stop there and continued to beat Marilyn. When Marilyn got to the hospital hours later, barely clinging to life, she had suffered severe trauma to her face and head. Once police learned about the history between Marilyn and Zachary, his house was searched and he was arrested for the attack. But Zachary had a different explanation. His dog was the one responsible for the attack. However, the evidence at his house, along with the nature of Marilyn's wounds, was not consistent with the dog bite. The case went to trial, where Zachary was found guilty of assault in the first degree.
Zach Gross has taken a lot of things from you, but what hasn't he gotten?
He hasn't gotten me, and he won't. He hasn't gotten my pride, he hasn't got my life, and I won't let him.
Number 1. Jessica Boynton. In 2016, Griffin resident Matthew Boynton made a frantic 911 call saying he received a worrying text from his wife Jessica, claiming she was going to take her own life and that he heard gunshots. Jessica was found inside a closet critically injured and barely conscious, and a police-issued gun was found under her body. Jessica and Matthew were high school sweethearts. Jessica was a stay-at-home mom to their 2 boys, and Matthew had recently begun work as a police officer. In the months prior, Jessica and Matthew's relationship was strained, and that night, they had gotten into a heated argument, and Matthew stormed off. The gun found belonged to Matthew. Jessica was taken to the hospital, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was treating the case as a suicide. But in the hospital, the doctor uncovers the fact there is no bullet wound, and Jessica had suffered blunt force trauma, landing her in a coma. And when Jessica woke up from her coma weeks later, she had her own belief of what happened, even though she had no memory of the attack.
What do you think did happen to you?
I think I was hit over the head with something.
And who do you think hit you over the head?
Matthew.
She also insisted it wasn't her who sent Matthew the text message.
If you didn't write that suicidal text, who did?
I'm guessing Matthew,
Why would he do that?
to help cover his tracks.
Jessica believes that Matthew had found her divorce notebook where she had documented his movements and her knowledge of an affair she believed he was having, arming herself for a divorce and custody of their kids. The investigation also uncovered over 60 texts exchanged between Matthew and a female dispatcher that night. While there were multiple elements that didn't line up with Matthew's versions of events in the evidence, the case was closed and Matthew cleared. But Jessica is holding hope to find justice.
I would want to know how he did it and how does he live with himself every day knowing that he did something like this.